All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the opportunity. So, in this occasion, in the ninth Literary Studies Conference, we are going to present our research entitled Universal Apostolic Preferences Values Reflected in Selected COVID-19 Themed Digital Literature for Children and Young Adults. And the researchers for this research is Theresia, Enny, Anggraini, me, Almira, Ghassani, Shabrina, Romala, and my partner, Miss Catharina, Brameswari, and also Nathaniel, Alvino, Risa, Prima. We are from English Letters Department, Universitas Sanata, Dharma. Okay, let's continue with the background of our study. So the background is the COVID-19 pandemic. It has changed young people's life in many aspects. They face complex and enormous challenges in this digital world to find their true selves, potentials, and future. And with these challenges and also problems, LCYA, Literature for Children and also Young Adults, tries to reveal their experience in the real world from their perspectives. And the digital literature in the genre LCYA will be easily accessed by them since they are more accustomed and literate in the ICT usage. Therefore, it is important to find how the digital literature would affect young adults and also children in facing the COVID-19 pandemic and also the challenge follows it. And then next, the aims of this study is first to reveal how the pandemic affects children and also young adults that is depicted in the selected digital literature, and then unveil how the values of Universal Apostolic Preferences reflected in the stories. And then the last one is finding the solutions to the problems and challenges faced by children and young adults based on the stories in the digital literature. And then next, so the outcomes of this research is expected to be first, it can be used for teaching as the learning media that focus on young adults and also children, for example, in literature subject, and also it can be used for writing articles as the research, and then also it can be based on for community service that focus on young adults and also literature. And the next. Okay, so the module from this research, it can be applied in the introduction to literature for children and young adults, particularly in the topics of digital literature, and then in prose about race, class, gender, and also in the introduction to English literature for the characterization. Okay, and then the next. And then we've come to the review of literature for this study. The first one, digital literature. So perhaps you have familiar with digital literature as we sometimes find it in Wattpad or in websites that provide us with digital stories or literature. So digital literature is also known as electronic literature. It is a literary genre created digitally and made to be read and accessed digitally. Catherine Hales underlines that printed literature which is transformed into a digital version. But this digital literature is different from the other literary works because it can just juxtapose digital elements like photos, music, and video with text. Therefore, the new aspect will create a new reading experience, and it will be exciting and interactive for the readers, particularly for children and also young adults. And then for the literature for children and young adults, or LCYA, the work is considered simple and easy to understand. in terms of the language. However, some author will choose difficult words to teach the readers. And LCYA intentionally designs for children and young adults reader because it has the power to speak like them. In the present time, the works are various and bring specific vital issues around them. Children and young adults are aware of their life experience than the previous generation. Every day, they are exposed to digital platforms and social media, which are easy to access. This experience can be seen from the selected digital works that recite the main characters' lives in the times of the COVID-19 pandemics. Therefore, digital literature and young adult and children are very closely related. Therefore, it will be the main focus of this study. Okay, and then the next is the methodology of the study. So the first one, we used descriptive and qualitative method to analyze the data by reading the stories from the object. Yeah, the object is on New Year's resolution and a personal reflection of the pandemic from the website of Dear Asian Youth Literature. The researcher read the object of this research, and then we analyzed the values of Universal Apostolic Preferences reflected from the stories, and then we reveal how the youth and children overcome the pandemic based on the UAP values in the stories. And we are going to continue with the findings that will be presented by Ms. Catharina Brameswari.
Okay, thank you so much for the opportunity, Ms. Almira. So let's go to the research findings based on the research questions that we have already mentioned before. We will start from the first research question. We are going to discuss the effects of COVID-19 pandemic towards the young adult's life. So the drastic change which the children and also the young adults face during the quarantine has made them feel isolated and also pessimistic. So young adults and also children always feels that they are motivated and also desperate. It can be seen from one of the short stories that we have on New Year's resolution. The main character here, um, she wears uh, only oversized sweatshirt and also parka with her high size top with a rubber band, and she has not texted any friends or family or to attend the viewing party, but she chooses to stand on her tiny apartment balcony. These are proofs that the characters has not related to the Universal Apostolic Preferences values in the selected COVID-19 themed stories. We found 3 points here. The first one is showing the way to God, journeying with the youths, and walking with the excluded. According to one of the research, we found that during the pandemic, children and youth's depression and anxiety are doubled compared to the pre-pandemic. And they're experiencing depression in this peculiar situation, which is caused by the social isolation as well as the school disruption. In accordance with the state of hopelessness and anxiety, youths and children fundamental survival through the discovery of each own selves is needed. One of the prominent ways could be done by finding the relationship with God during the state of pandemic. The Bible also elaborated through on this matter. For example, from Hebrew, it is mentioned that um, come boldly to the throne of our gracious God, as there we will receive his mercy. So the relationship with God is significant to assist humans going through the daily change for God is the spiritual source of power in the midst of helplessness. And it is very important to seek God, especially in this current stage of pandemic. In the second short story, in a personal reflection of the pandemic, we have two quotations that we took from the short story. The first one is, just because Kim had the coronavirus, we didn't stop being friends. Even though I could not see him, I never stopped caring about him, and we're happy we can play together again. Sometimes the most important thing we can do as friends is protect each other, even if that means staying away from each other for a while. Our second finding is walking with the excluded. Here, we want to underline that during this pandemic, even though one of our friends got the coronavirus, but we should be walking with them. We should accompanying them, even though we cannot meet directly. So we can just send them a message or messages, or even call them and support them in this difficult time. The third finding is about journeying with the youth. Even though the situation was rather hard in 2020, as the quarantine was and still is an awful isolating experience, but youth should be remain optimistic for a better upcoming period. So as we can see in the first short story, um, the main character starts to believe in herself and starts to be optimistic and try to embrace the difficult situation which happened around her. So here, from the first and the second short story, we found that children and also young adults should be optimistic and embrace all the difficult things around them. Based on the problems which are faced by the children and young adults, we offer some solutions to them during the difficult pandemic situation, and also based on the Universal Apostolic Preferences. Uh, we offer social media as things that are close to them, because by using social media, they can express their feelings and thoughts, and they can also write something like stories or ideas, and also ask the readers and their friends to stand up and make a change, so they can only do it at home. And through um, social media literature works, especially um, young adults and children may share their problems, their life crisis, and even share their positive thoughts towards the pandemic. And as the alternative reading source during the COVID-19 pandemic, um, Agile literary digital literature has helped young children and also young adults to find the answer to their problems. As we have already discussed before and also wrote in this screen, literature work can share or reflect the problems uh, and help young people to find the answer to their problems. They can communicate with their peers through social media and also through social media works. They can also respect any emotions and feelings that come up during this difficult time. For example, loneliness, depressions, anxiety, and help their peers and also the readers to grasp the global culture value. And the next plan that we are going to have is that we are going to add more digital literature works with various themes, and taking the reader's response analysis, composing modules, and designing community service programs which focus on digital literature for children and young adults. Children and young adults, we have to show the way to God by accompanying the youth, journeying with them in this difficult time, and stay optimistic during this pandemic. That's all our presentation. So as the representative from this group, me, Ms. Catharina, and also Ms. Almira would like to say thank you for your attention and see you next time. Thank you.